depression. One of the things that people told me as a Muslim is that if you believe in Allah, or a person who believes in Allah can't be depressed. How can you be depressed if your heart believes in Allah? You can be depressed and believe in Allah. And evidence, there's so much evidence littered throughout the history of our religion, of famous scholars, even prophets, peace and blessings be upon them, when they have fallen into sadness and depression. Even our own beloved Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, tasted depression. Depression does not take away your faith. It does not take away your belief, your reliance in your Maker. It's a reminder that you are really struggling in this world. For me, I think depression really kicked in for me when I started to properly practice the faith, Islam, and it's around 8 years ago. And the way it happened, okay, so before 8 years ago, so my entire life, right, I wasn't really a great Muslim. I knew the very basics of Islam. I prayed my salat, which is to pray 5 times a day, but I didn't understand the purpose of praying them. I didn't really read the Quran. May Allah forgive me, I did a lot of things. I don't want to go too deep into revealing my shortcomings, but let's just say that I didn't really know much about Islam. I literally just scraped by the 5 pillars of Islam. Okay, so 8 years ago, what happened? I graduated from uni, and one day, honestly I can't even remember how, but one day I was just reading Surah Al-Fatiha, and it just hit my heart. Like I felt emotional, like I felt like I wanted to cry. I have no idea. Still, I didn't even know what the words meant in the Quran, even though I can speak Arabic. But the Arabic, I can speak Arabic, but the Arabic in the Quran is a very advanced Arabic, subhanAllah. So anyways, 8 years ago, that happened. And then I said to myself, I'm going to start learning about this religion, this beautiful religion. At the time, it wasn't beautiful because I didn't know anything about its beauty. The more I learned about Islam, the more I knew about what is permissible, what is not permissible, how did the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessings be upon him, live his life. What did he do? What did he bring close to himself? What did he distance himself from? Who was he? The more I learn about who is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who is Allah, where is Allah, who is this one that I worship, the more I learn about this religion. This is going to sound really, really weird, right? But the more I felt happy inside, but externally my life became depressing. So how does that work, right? I gave up so much of my previous life. I gave up working in places that didn't fit in with the lifestyle that I've learned that should be within a Muslim's life. So basically, I used to hang around people that would usually lead me to places that were haram. So I gave up those people. I cut my links with them. I used to hang out in places that were deemed haram. So I cut those things up. Because remember, those things were normal for me. Those were the things that were part of my life. So I had to give those things up. So the more things that I gave up, the more empty my house. So imagine you have a house and you just got rid of your furniture, right? But you didn't replace the furniture with anything. Okay, so I lost friends. I lost places that I used to find comfort in. And as much as people will be like, oh, but you know, you have Allah, you have the Quran. Yes, but still, I became alone. I became lonely. Loneliness was the first test of depression that I had. Ya Allah, I was so lonely, man. Honestly, you have no idea. The human being is designed to socialize. It's designed to be around people. I mean, Allah created Adam alayhi salam, right? But He didn't create him alone. He created for him Hawa alayhi salam, so that he can have company, so that, you know, she can be the coolness of his eyes, or the coolness of each other's eyes. Subhanallah. He gave them children, subhanallah, to keep them company. You know, He created the system of marriage so that, you know, you can keep each other company. He gave us the ability to have friends, companions, subhanallah. Even if you remember the story of Ibrahim, or Abraham to those who speak English, alayhi salam, peace and blessings be upon him. He felt lonely, and he said to Allah, Ya Allah, I'm so lonely, I have no friends. And Allah said to him, I am your friend. Subhanallah. So a human being literally becomes depressed if they're lonely, regardless of how close they are to Allah. You need companionship. So that was my first test, and that's when I started to fall into depression. And I did continue to study Islam as a religion. And I can just imagine that could also happen to a lot of new Muslims, a lot of reverts in Islam, coming into Islam, and a lot of new Muslims, they hit the ground running, mashallah. They hit the ground running, and they give up a lot of their life. They don't hang out with people they used to hang out with. They don't do things that they used to do. And I can just imagine, like, if they don't fill up that void with new friends and new places and new things to do, they very quickly fall into depression, and they could end up doing things they would regret later on in their lives. The second wave of depression that hit me was unemployment. I had a great job before. You know, I worked in the film industry, and I had to leave it. Why, you say? Because a lot of the work we did was not deemed permissible in Islam. We worked with music. Music is not permissible in Islam. We worked with a lot of content, which, like with alcohol. I didn't drink alcohol, but in Islam, as Muslims, we're not allowed to deal with anything that revolves around alcohol or pork. The film industry has a lot of overly sexualized content, and if you sign a contract with an agency, you have to do the job. You can't pick and choose. So I left that industry for the sake of Allah, alhamdulillah, and I said, right, I'm going to go work in Islamic industry. So I went to a particular Muslim channel. I'm not going to mention which, is in the UK. I'm not going to mention the name. And I didn't realize this, subhanAllah, but they edited with music. They had music on their channel. Like, they had music. They just didn't class it as music. It had musical instruments and so forth. So I left it. I also left because of the free mixing. There's a difference of opinion, of course. Fine, I'm not here to debate halal or haram. For me, I can't work around an environment that is that free mix. I've got nothing against women working. Alhamdulillah, so long as the environment and the job you're doing is halal, there's no problem with that whatsoever. But for me to work in an environment where men and women are intermingling, I'm going to use that word, mingling, it's dangerous, and it can lead to a lot of haram. Even if it doesn't, like, you don't want to give the shaitan, the devil, an opportunity. So I became unemployed for a while, and I tried to become self-employed. It was very difficult, subhanAllah. In fact, the unemployment or lack of means is what's daunting me right now. And the third wave of depression that's hit me, sorry, I promise I won't make the video too long, is partly part of loneliness, but it's the need of a spouse, looking for a wife. Oh my God, this is so hard. the more you learn about Islam and the more you sort of get to know your community, the more you realize the prejudice, the lack of understanding of how Islam is supposed to work that the community has or doesn't have, the racism. It's insane. Like, this religion is beautiful, but Muslims, honestly, there's a lot of stuff that is just really nasty, subhanAllah. Allah says in the Quran that He has placed a rizq, wealth, in marriage. So He's saying, if you get married, I will increase you in wealth. Okay. Our community today does the complete backwards, that does the complete opposite. It says you must have wealth before you can get married. I'm baffled. Who knows better, Allah or His creation? I don't know, man. I'm not saying a man doesn't need a job. A man shouldn't have a job. I'm just saying, if the prerequisite for marriage is for him to have wealth in an environment where, if someone is trying to practice his religion and he's struggling because of the environment, keep in mind, I live in the West, okay, and it's very difficult to find work where you can pray your prayers and, fully, and make a decent wage, enough that you can, rent a home or get out an apartment, and then provide for a wife on top of that as well. So I thought maybe our Muslim community would be like, oh, you know what? We understand the social and economical situation of the environment that we live in today in 2017. Let's make it easy for the brothers and the sisters so they can get married. And because Allah mentions in the Quran, I will increase your wealth through your marriages, Allah will take care of them. I think I just over romanticized how our Muslim community would have followed this religion, but no, they don't. They follow their own sort of tunnel vision view of how this religion should work. Anyways, depression is real, and for many Muslims, both men and women, especially women. I'm a man, so I don't know much about our sisters, but from what I've heard, even our sisters, they struggle, especially sisters who are practicing our religion. When I say sisters, for those who don't understand, I'm referring to Muslim women in our religion. Our sisters struggle with maybe their family trying to force them to do things they shouldn't do, force the culture down their throats. Could be married women in our religion who are oppressed by their husbands. There are men who are oppressed by their wives as well. There are single moms who are oppressed and marginalized by their community for just being divorced, as if the woman is damaged goods. So I can imagine the women going through their own depression, and I'm sure there's other forms of depressions they're going through. I have no idea, but I'm trying to also say that it's not just men, obviously, because I'm just talking from my experience as a man. Depression is real. Please don't dismiss it. How do I tackle it? Honestly, talk to Allah. Complain to Allah. Cry to Allah. Talk to Him all the time. And try to limit. And this is a reminder to myself first, because I make this mistake all the time. I used to just post about my problems on social media, on Facebook, on Twitter, on whatever. And it didn't help. It doesn't help, because in reality, no one can help you but Allah. So my advice is keep complaining to Allah, keep getting close to Him. There's a scholar who said, and I'm going to try and quote this as best as I can. He said, read the Quran in proportion to how much happiness you want in your life. I hope that makes sense. So the amount of happiness you want in your life, you want this much happiness, then read that much Quran. So the Quran will lead to your happiness. And I promise you, every time I read the Quran, I feel happiness in my heart. Maybe my situation doesn't change. Allah knows best. Allah will change it whenever He pleases. Maybe this is good for me. what I am in right now, the situation, even though I don't like it, as Allah mentions in the Quran, you know, there may be a thing that you like, but it's not good for you. And there may be a thing that you dislike, but it's good for you. Subhanallah. So this could be that case. But Allah also mentions something very powerful, that He does not burden you with a case that you can't handle. Yeah. But hey, I'm here making this video because I want you to not pity me or to feel sorry for me, but I want you to understand that depression is real and to not be ashamed of it. But the best way to deal with it and to tackle it is to remember Allah and to return to Him, to learn your religion, to return to the Quran, open the Quran, even if it's just one verse in the Quran, read it. And I promise you, you will feel much, much better, even if you are in a ball of fire. Just like Sayyidina Ibrahim, Prophet Abraham, when he was thrown into the fire, he felt nothing. So imagine this life that you're living right now. It's like a fire, you know, you're as a Muslim, as a believing Muslim or Muslim, and you're trying to hold on to your religion, and it's so difficult, you know, reading the Quran and returning to Allah. I believe, and it's, as the scholars have mentioned, may Allah be pleased with them, returning to Allah and remembering Him through the Quran is the greatest medicine for depression. I ask Allah to make our lives easy as Muslims. I ask Allah to also help those in depression, regardless of what religion they're in, because depression is real and it's really difficult. It can hurt physically. Yeah, it really can hurt physically. Yallah. Okay, let me leave you be. I wish you all a very wonderful day, and until next time, take care of yourselves.